Hello everyone, my name is Notepad and Anon and I write games for fun. So what are we doing today? Today we're going to finish up Eagles and Rifles. Now that seems like a fairly ambitious statement, but things have gone pretty smoothly so far. Like we haven't really, there isn't really much else to do. The main thing to do is the advanced rules. Uh, I've decided to drop loyalty. Uh, Loyalty just wasn't working the way I wanted to. Like every time I looked at it, I wrote it again the third time, and then I looked at it and like this isn't working. Like it would be so much just to keep track of for so little. You're like, it's not really worth it. God. Boom, boom, boom. Outside of that, we're breaking it down into these three: the attaché, Napoleonic scale I should actually say Napoleonic scale combat, and advanced campaigns. Those are what we're going to be doing because that's probably the easiest for the purposes of what actually changed. Added some nice images here. There's Saint Simon Bolivar. It's appropriate. We got some nice images here to really set the stage, set the tone. I also wrote in the Battle in Progress system. Battle in Progress has been in my notebook since like the start of this project. And all it is how do you make the larger scale combats functional? This is how I did it. To summarize, both sides have a combat value. Those are the amount of dice you roll. Every amount of success gets applied to the enemy at the end of the combat. Actually, at the end of the roll. So, for example, let's say my R force has 12 infantry brigades. We'll just call it units for now because I'm lazy. 12 infantry units, 4 cavalry units, 2 artillery units. Actually, we'll call it foot infantry. We have no skirmishers. While their force has, 8 foot infantry, 3 skirmishers, 5 cavalry, and like 3 artillery. Congratulations, you've successfully made what it looks like, what a large-scale battle may look like. This may seem like, oh no, this is scary, don't worry. Ogre companies are not part of this. This is literally just like 2 battles, 2 armies clashing in the field. What occurs? The basic idea is if you have advantages, you get more CV, i.e. more dice. If you have a better general, you're going to get more dice. We also, depending on the situation, you're going to lose or you're going to gain dice. Pretty simple. Like that's literally all it is. And then you choose what your tactic is. So, for example, if we do something like our force goes defensive, they go skirmishing, and yeah, we'll say they go shock, for example. They have to hit on 5 up. We have to hit on 3 up because we beat their tactic. This rock, paper, scissors. And our force, let's see. So pretty much 3 CVs. What's 12 times 3? We have 36. Yeah, we have 36 dice. But remember how dice work. We, in fact, only have 10 dice here. But we also get 26 free successes because we just have a lot of infantry. However, our cavalry contributes nothing, and our artillery contributes 6. So technically, we have 32 free successes. Wait a second, is that how it works? Yeah, we have 32 free successes. However, they would have 8 there. Skirmishers, they would have 9 there. Cavalry would contribute 15. And artillery would be contributing 3. So let's see. 32 free successes. Something doesn't seem right there. Yeah, something isn't seeming right. Mostly tone down the numbers. If we go on the idea, it would be something like this. Even then, that would be quite a bit. That would be 3 times 8. That would be 1624. That would also be 14 successes over 14 successes. Distributing 8. 8 plus 5 would be. See, this is why I look at things. Eventually, I want to notice things that don't quite look right. I can probably change this. Unless we just keep the numbers down. Yeah, actually, put a footnote in there about that. See, this is why this is why I do this. This is why I stream. I stream because I rubber duck things. And it's good to speak it sometimes, being like, wait a second, yeah, it doesn't work. Footnote, not footnote, side note. Resizes. Consider men employed. And that the CVs can possibly exceed 30 in some cases. Some cases, understand what an army composed of roughly. Large armies may consist. So we'll do Waterloo, Duke of Wellington's. Tell me your army sizes. I need to know. 252 guns. We need to anticipate the size of the military in that regard. So if we anticipate the size of the military based off of Waterloo statistics, I know Waterloo was actually a pretty big fight, but we could base it around this. So let's consider 1,000 infantry to be equal 1 unit. Actually, 1 unit of infantry. God, that'd be a lot of units. Yeah, 1,000 infantry equal a unit. Yeah. 14,000 cavalry would be, we would want cavalry equal a unit. 6 guns equal unit. This is one of those difficult parts where you can see it in your head how things would work. And the staff, I may be slain by such case will surely erupt. Generally me off to keep units in reserve. Situation in the field affecting the army, a disaster effects on military prowess in the men of the field. Tactical master may exploit the enemy's weakness. Infuse them out of their own. So actually, we need to look at things. Not look at Waterloo. We would have to look at maybe Gettysburg battlefield. Hmm. Where are you? Where are you? Actually, we need the Battle of Gettysburg. Battle of Gettysburg. See, this is the hard part because the scale of fights were so huge, and the scales of fights are so huge. How do you actually do that without just making it background fluff? And that's the main issue, is that I'm trying to make sure that it's not just background fluff. Yes, you do. That's accurate. You have so many different little fights that take place during something like this. Hello, helicopter. How are you? So let's see. We have Eel. So that'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. Because you have things like this. Because it's like Wood, McLaws, AP Hill, Ewell, Jen Johnson fighting this way. I'm trying to get it in my head like how best to do this. Maybe something like vast number of men employed on each side. Considering the vast number of men employed on each side of an army during conflicts, era, it's sometimes difficult to even attempt to try fully realize the terrible scale of warfare. Terrible scale of warfare, however. Actually, how many men were at the Battle of Dover? No, it would be Second Schleswig. Second Schleswig War. Tell me about. Dum, 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 dum. Let's see. Battle of Dibol. 11,000 men, 126 guns, defenses in reserve, 700 killed. We're not looking at that huge of men, but it's kind of hard to even get an idea because you have, let's say, Battle of Tyrol. We want to do the Battle of... I can see it. I am having a Leipzig coalition. Only the first. We're looking at yes, 325,000 men, 177,000 men. Okay. We need to break things down a little bit. However, rather than trying to fit thousands of men and in turn hundreds of dice, yeah, because you have these massive losses on... Yeah. These massive battles taking place. However, rather than try to fit thousands of men and turn hundreds of dice into the field, either split the battles up into individual sections, or abstract the number of infantry down to relative scales. So, okay. So, an army with 100,000 infantry could be technically called 10-foot infantry. Still a massive amount, but still a massive amount. Far more manageable. A force of 1,200 infantry would in turn be 12-foot infantry. Just remember to keep the scales in place. And again, split the battles up into flanks if need be. To get the full horrifying scale of these conflicts. Because Napoleonic conflicts was, Let's see. Deploying arms, Italian's troops. The battle was the culmination of the German campaign at 13. Involved 500,000 soldiers, 2,000 artillery pieces, artillery ammo, making it the largest battle in Europe prior to World War One. Yeah, welcome to the Peter scale of Battle of Leipzig. War sucks. Fun fact. All right, so that should work. I'm not totally happy with it, but that's just something we've kind of got to deal with. I'm trying not to make a fucking war game here. This is very much a side system, but it's important to have, because if you don't have it, people are going to wonder how does this battle turn out, outside of just making it narrative, or like, okay, the ogre company is the only one actually doing anything. No, I wanted to make it feel like, hey, yeah, no, the armies are fighting, people are killing each other, and rolling a boatload of dice. Actually, rather than the traditional 10 dice cap, the dice cap will raise to 20 to compensate the numbers. Consider using a virtual roller or other to roll the large amount of dice, otherwise known as averages. Do not hesitate to use averages either. Like, you don't have it, you're going to be missing something, but if you do have it, you got to kind of accommodate for it. So, all right, that'll work for now. So, what do we have to do now? What do I end up calling this section? All right. We'll call this not. Should we call these advanced rules, or? Actually, we'll call it standards. Heroics and actually defining legacy advanced rules. This section will cover small parts or additions to the main rules that seem important. At the time. These will most likely change over the course of time. And each is optional, and each is completely optional. Optional to put into your campaign. Into the campaign. And then we're going to do the attaché. Boom. Attaché. The Ogre Company far more than just the men and rifles they hold. Oof. this is going to be fun. 3, 2. Oh no, people are doom posting again. Oh no, people are posting unironic statements. Oh no, people think they're oh god, there's more unironic communists. Why are there so many unironic communists? Alright, you know, there's far more than there's men in the rifles they hold. Unit is composed. Their own ends and benefits to the ogre company, company themselves, or individual units. These men and women are called attaches, representing their attached nature to the ogre company and unit. A unit can have as many attaches as they can support, as they wish. However, certain attaches as they wish, but an attache is suitable for every unit. But not every attache is suitable for every unit. Ogre company attaches. Ogre company attaches are the same, but they do require a small amount of RQ to support and continue their services to the company. Yeah, they're pretty much small bonuses that you would receive. So we're going to do some just traditional ones. We're going to do the flag bearer. Call that unit. Foot infantry. The unit's flag bearer is a beacon of hope and countryship, and hope and unity to the unit, as well as a method to keep the unit organized while under fire. A unit takes -2 cohesion damage as long as the flag bearer stands. Pretty much, don't lose your flag bearer. Musicians, unit, foot infantry. The units. Musicians assist in marching and keeping the men in line. Motivation keeps the rifles firing and the enemy disoriented. Gain +1 maneuver. Gain +1 maneuver as long as you have a musician. Why? Because it's keeping to the rhythm. Everything you're doing is keeping to the rhythm. So what we can do is, how do we want to do this? This is one of those things, like way early on I mentioned that a lot of linear warfare was all about the pressures on both sides. You know, it's keeping people like, okay, we need to keep ourselves motivated as well as kind of understand that you have to keep fighting because you have the frontal motivation of I'm standing side by side with my brothers and we're going to fight till the end. I don't want to look like a coward. You know, we have our fellow country, you know, we have I'm fighting for my country. That's kind of the front motivation. The back motivation is the flags, the music, everything about it to keep people like motivated. Be like, yeah, we can totally do this. See. Actually, we want to do anytime cohesion is regained, add plus 1d6. Let's see what the others. So we have 2 for foot infantry. Let's do 2 for cavalry. So actually, we can do 2 for skirmishers. We'll do low unit skirmishers. Assisting it, and they're assisting them, assisting in the battle. They gain +1. They gain the unit gains. Dang, +1 maneuver. Actually, we want to do. The unit ignores maneuver penalty in terrain. Spotter unit skirmishers. Unit has a man able sole task, calling targets and predicting the winds. The unit gains +1 range on all of their weapons. So yeah, the spotter's goal is to say, all right, there's some like this is where you have to shoot, kind of. Not exactly the most elegant solution, but let's see. Horses. Unit cavalry. Unit has a detachment of powerfully built and veteran war horses instead of their traditional mounts. They have a negative. They have a flat +5 to their base cohesion. Fanatic units, cavalry. A soldier has a soldier with an absolute death wish, shouting and hyping the men up. for a glorious attack. An attack against the enemy. All charges. Deal plus 1d6 damage. Then we have to do company-wide one. We'll do Surgeon Company, the Ogre Company, services of a professional surgeon, and a handful of their soldiers, and a handful of their staff. At the end of a battle, if of a battle, all units will recover 1d6. Actually, let's see. All units will recover 25% of their casualties. It's not many, but it's the difference between a few men and oh, pick me. Huh? Hello, if you cannot hear me. If you cannot speak in chat, welcome aboard. Welcome me being very late at night and being very tired. I unfortunately decided it was a really good idea to like lay down for 5 seconds because it was very hot today. That's why I'm streaming at like 11:30 at night. So let's see, we have a surgeon, 25% of their casualties, which doesn't seem like a lot, but if you take 100, if a dozen men die, you're at least getting like a few back to help to mitigate some of your casualties. That would be another good company-wide one. We probably do the Cook Brigade. Actually, I know. It's the Chef Detachment Company. Three RQ. Yeah, they require 3 RQ anytime staff comes in. So, Chef Detachment Company, the Ogre Company, has a particularly skilled set of, let's see, the Ogre Company has a particular skilled set of pair of meals for them. When marching about. See, all units begin any combat with plus 10 cohesion. Why? Because we've got full bellies, which is a very powerful thing to understand. Let's see. What would be some other ones we could probably play with? Hello. Hello, H for Hot Boy. Welcome to this late night stream. Oh, is that one server with the ERP? Ah, yes, the ERP. It is called Lewd Dice Shenanigans. Let me see if I can actually. All right. Yeah, give me 1 second. I'll give it to you. My only request. There, Ajax here. Yes. Please be nice. They are good people, if a bit odd. That's my only request. Be nice. Like, it seems pretty normal, but just like understand that. Yeah, no, go for it. I meant to get to you earlier, but I'm like, oh god, I got to stream. Ah. No worries. It's what I do. Let's see. Yeah, that's the best I can really hope for. Best of luck. Yeah. Alright, what else do we need? Night fighting. Yeah, the Procure Company. Your company has a man, actually houses an individual with particular connections, allowing them to receive weapons at half, rounding up our Q cost. What else are we looking for? What else are we looking for here? Oh yeah, no, Opium Wars. Opium Wars are some interesting stuff. It's mostly when you realize that the entirety of the Opium Wars can be summarized as the British wanted to sell drugs to the Chinese. Like, oh boy. But that was during the everyone dab on China era of conflicts. So I mean, it makes sense why it was everyone dabbed on China. Yeah, hopefully if things go according to plan, we should actually be able to wrap things up tonight. Bum, bum, bum. Let's see. Oh, I know. Your company has the illustrious services of the. See, your company has the illustrious services of an old guard. We're training the men in the heart of old-fashioned combat. All units gain +1 1d6 to their shock, to any shock attacks. And he only needs 2 RQ. Attic musicians, flag bearer. So we want to do Control-Shift-8. Add-on, sort paragraph A to Z. Which I still have no idea is not a default option in Google Docs, but we live in Clown Town, so don't question. Wait, no, fanatic. A unit. Actually, when the commander is under threat, it is considered that any unit attachment is also under threat and rolls the same check too. They die like everyone else. That's why you would see a lot of things in usually like Napoleonic movies where it's like, oh no, someone's been shot and falls over, and jeez, like, oh, someone falls over and someone picks up the flag immediately, like, haha, we'll fight. Let's see, attaché. Okay, we've got the attaché done. Again, it's just something to help define and give units a little bit more personality. Not super necessary. You don't need to put in things like it, but it just gives people a little bit more things to work with. All right, Napoleonic scale. Combat. There will be times when the characters are placed in command of a larger force under their placed in command of a larger force of many units. In this case, use the Napoleonic scale combat rules, which adds a bit more macro to the combat. So orders remain the same. Actually, key changes. So our big key changes are that commanders of individual units are accounted for, but the majors are not. Commanders cannot perform commander actions. Commander actions, however. Let's see. Unit formations remain the same. Actually, there doesn't really seem to be that many. Yeah, a little bit more macro to things. Commanders' individual units are accounted for, but no one else. What other major things we have to worry about? Change firing stance. The change firing stance. Change firing stance and reorganize action. The change firing stance action in order is removed. Anytime, actually, individual commanders, they reorganize. Let's see, the reorganize action. Let's see. Yeah, the reorganize action is now a flat value of one. Flat value of 1d6 times 2 cohesion. 1d6 times 2 cohesion. Let's see, the command is always considered in danger. Let's see, what other actions do we have? Formations remain the same. Artillery remains the same. Yeah, it's mostly a lot of little stuff. It was like, don't do this, do this. Please, God. I would say we probably need to check when it comes to the intensity scale. When it comes to the intensity scale, how do we want to do? Never played a war game. What's the draw of it? War games. People enjoy war games. People inherently kind of do. People have been playing war games for centuries. It's just, how do you mimic combat without being in combat? In like the broader sense. Other times it's kind of hard to get a good idea of it. Of like, yeah, I want to play Warhammer 40,000 as a war game. People enjoy it because they want to pretend to be Space Marine commanders and blow up Tau or whatever. There's just an inherent draw to it, and then you also kind of pair it with, model painting, and some people like the social interaction between things. There's a lot of little interplay when it comes to war games. Fascinating stuff. The system here, one thing I noticed about Napoleonic things in general is that Napoleonic conflicts in the game sphere, you could say, is almost entirely dominated by war games because of the sheer scale of it, because that's what Napoleon was known for. Like, there are no tabletop games set during this era because it was so focused on that war game, large scale conflict sense of it. So, kind of ignoring that, if I were to ignore that part of it, it would be, putting a blindfold on of like what people actually kind of know about Napoleonic eras. And there's a lot. If you ever get curious, if you ever are fascinated by the world of wargaming, Kriegsspiel. It is an old Prussian war game, and that's actually, they still play Kriegsspiels out in real military stuff. Usually, I remember back in college, the ROTC guys, I had a few friends in that. They would play Kriegsspiel every now and again. And it's some fascinating stuff, because it's like, how do we teach commanders how to control units? And like, how do we kind of judge the fact of like, hey, you lost a bunch of men, or hey, are you why did you do this? Well, okay, I ordered my men to march up here because if we secure the hill, it's a way more valuable thing than kind of keeping them in reserve. Like, oh yeah, that makes complete sense. I think the more modern version of Kriegsfeel have the dice and stuff. The old version didn't have any dice or anything because there was like a judge that had to be like, ah, yes, I am a Prussian war commander. You moved your men there. And if we have your men, if we have the enemy there, you're going to lose X amount. Like, you're going to get this unit killed. Congratulations, you're a fuck up. War games are fascinating to even look at. Read very differently, act very differently. I'm always fascinated in what people come up with, though. Let's see. Intake slot 14 and cohesion loss. We can probably keep the cohesion scale. Yeah, honestly, this is really all I need for this, and then have to write a big old note in there. The largest thing to consider. Mail is that each player taking the role of 3 to 5 individual units instead of just their own. Hectic. Do not allow the players to think too long. There are men dying, and so will they. They fail to act. Yeah, that's really all I can put down because of the nature of how the rules function. There's 17th century minimalist RPG taking place in France. I wouldn't be surprised. They've fished up a lot of very strange games over the years that people are like, huh, where the fuck did this come from? Like, it's like the Egyptian D20 they found. Me like, yeah, this is just a D20 dice the Egyptians were using. Why? We don't know. Or like the Royal Game of Ur. What was that really bizarre game that came out of fucking nowhere? Then you get like Little War. Oh yeah, there's also things like Little Wars. Like H.G. Wells. Now, when people think, oh wow, H.G. Wells, like World of Worlds and social commentary and stuff, he also wrote a game called Little Wars, which was, or technically the full title was Little Wars, a game for boys 12 to age 150 and for more intelligent sort of girl who likes boys' games and books. It came out in 1913, and you had shit like this. People have always been fucking nerds, and I love that. You find some absurdly like strange. No, it's you find even just doing the amount of games and stuff that I have been going through, you end up picking up this strange little pieces of information, and you find games from like, why is this like 70s game everything I've ever wanted. Like, I discovered it was an old comic called Super Babes. I found it by complete accident. I did a complete deep dive. I'm like, what is this fucking comic? I'm like, it was some like 70s comic that got made into an RPG. Bizarre, strange. Loved it. But old war games, I think, have a lot more history behind things. You can find a lot of very interesting stuff there. But it's also fascinating to see what countries and things don't have those kind of games. It's very fascinating because you would think like, oh, Japan might have stuff like that. Not really. They have Go. Everyone loves Go. That's their war game. Yeah, now I have to do the advanced campaigns. Who wish to some of the grit along with the wars of the Napoleonic era. I'll go along with the war of the Napoleonic era. Most notably is the attrition. Most notably is the attrition system. So actually, whoa, that's not. Most notably is the attrition system. Every nation has a military budget, which they will dole out to the military forces for certain campaigns. This reflects the payments and supplies needed to continue the war effort. Each unit in the army takes 2 RQ to remain functional. In addition, actually, each unit in the army takes a separate amount of RQ to remain battle ready, functional. Let's do foot infantry, 2 RQ. Actually, they're going to require 5 RQ. Skirmishers require 5 RQ. Cavalry requires 10 RQ. And artillery requires 12 RQ. Battle ready and functional. If the army is unable queue of a unit, they are considered out of supply, suffer penalties in combat. All right, get out of here. Have a nice rest of your night. God, it's like midnight. Fuck. Well, I said I get it done tonight. That's the goal, so that's what I'm doing. So, army is unable to pay. They are considered out of supply and suffer penalties in combat in addition to losing a quarter of their men to exposure. exposure, or starvation. Armies cut off from supply. Will begin to suffer attrition more rapidly as they are not receiving any RQ, and any remaining supplies have been expended. During suffering from attrition, each month, each month the army loses a unit of their choice. Due to the issues they are suffering from. So we'll do 10 RQ in hostile conditions. 10 RQ in hostile conditions. 15 RQ in yeah, no, only 15 RQ for artillery because it's mostly just the men. Like, our cannons don't need to eat. That's the big thing. That's your one advantage. Cannons don't need to eat. What they do need, though, is men to eat, and it's far easier to want to leave a cannon behind than leave your men behind. But sometimes you do. Cannons are valuable. Bruda. Oh, do the issues they are suffering from. Let's see. Actually, the attrition system. Military budget. Often in the hundreds of RQ. Well, the military forces for certain campaigns reflects the payments and supplies needed to continue the war effort. Occupation. Should the army take over an area, they are considered to be occupying it. The occupier is allowed to take resources, RQ, from the locals. However, they must leave a unit as a garrison to keep them in line. Ogre companies are often served as these garrisons should things go poorly. Actually, as a side note, ogre companies receive their amount of RQ last. The militaries of the world View the Ogre Company mercenaries. It's expendable. Some of these guys, if the garrison is lost, the region falls into enemy control, and it'll cut off supply lines. So what are some other Ogre companies often serve as these garrisons? If the army that is moving requires all of its soldiers for the coming battles. So let's see, we have attrition, we have occupation, we have, what would be another good one to throw into a Napoleonic grit campaign? Oh yes, ammunition. Ammunition. Each unit has a certain amount of ammunition. Available to them in the field. This is a total of 30 shots from the rifle. Should the unit attack 30 times without receipt, should the unit attack 30 times, they will run out of ammunition, and be required to fight exclusively in melee. Units restore their ammunition when they receive their RQ. If they are unable to, they do not receive their ammunition. Which is a very valid tactic of just letting your enemy starve to death. Hey, I don't have any ammo. I don't have any food. I literally have nothing. Oh no. Very valid tactic is to just starve the enemy out. God, let's see. We have ammunition. We have occupation. Yeah, that's pretty much all I can really think of at the top of my head. Rapidly have receiving. So I know received amount of RQ last. Occupation, heading 3. Ammunition, heading 3. Oof. Actually, a dunk. Can I put a footnote in, or will it kill the ammo? It will kill the ammo. Come on, some of these garrifs. There we go. Some of these garrisons on the cheap. The Russian winter, for example. So, let's see. Okay. Not much else I can do here. I could probably come up with more things, but I would pretty much need people to kind of check things, and that's more for when I hit the redux of this project. We can go into a little bit more detail, but I believe that is it. We've got our advanced rules. We fixed up the battle in progress system a little bit. We are done. Donu. Donu. You're done with eagles and rifles. So, what's the gist? What's the... Let's see. I need to... About 12,000 words, 55 pages. So what's the dealio there, Bob? Eagles and Rifles proposed such a unique and bizarre challenge because who the fuck thought this would be a good idea? This was a terrible idea, to be honest. It was a fascinating and odd project for a plethora of reasons because it's not fully a war game, nor is it a individual game. I had to kind of merge the two, and it was almost an Iron Caskets. I actually derived more from Iron Caskets than I actually thought I was going to. I thought I was going to be deriving a little bit more from Project Tactics, but it kind of became a merging of the both of them because the individual commanders mattered, but the individual commanders were also kind of their own thing. They were also meant to die. The unit is the main character. That's kind of the main draw of the game is managing your unit, giving it all the right cool equipment, putting your own attaches on it, fighting around. That's what makes this game work, I think, is the units. Am I entirely happy with the system? I don't know. I can honestly say I do not know. I had so much problems with this game. Just because of the numbers, the scales, everything was just a little bit bigger than you think it is. And then you have to take a step back and be like, okay, how do I make this work? How do I make this work? How do I change this to this? And it just became such a massive just undertaking that I was expecting 4 to 5 episodes. We're effectively at 7 episodes because I have 3.5. Which is kind of nuts in its own way. This was one of the larger projects, even though it's not that long, all things considering. It's only 12,000 words. This isn't like a 30,000 word epic, but it's a lot of just little things you have to consider. What do the units do? How do the units handle? What does the skirmishers act like? What do the light cavalry act like? What do heavy cavalry act like? What weapons can heavy cavalry use? What kind of equipment does light cavalry use? How fast can they move? What's the charge bonus? What's this? What's that? What's all of these plethora of small notes all added on to each other to make this such a bulky... This isn't a complicated game. It's a fucking D6 dice pool system at the end of the day. But there are so many little things all stacking up on top of each other. Every single one had something else that played with another system, that understood another one. It became this cascade almost of just stuff. Given infinite time and infinite budget, I could probably go back and make units a little bit better, or give them commanders a little bit more crunch. But honestly, I don't know what to do there. It's gonna be a while. I think I'm not gonna touch Eagles and Rifles in a while. Will I use Battle in Progress system again? Yeah, probably. I'm actually pretty proud of that. That works. Or like the artillery, like there are parts of this game I enjoy, but I think just everything together was such a bitch. It was a fun project though. Like I can complain all I want because I wrote it, but it was a fun project. Lots of little parts all working together to make something interesting. And I like that about games. You get a lot of character with those. But it works. A little bit clunky, but it should, in theory, work. But that's it for Eagles and Rifles. It's not a pretty game, but it'll work. Actually, with this, what I can do is I'll probably, after the stream, get this uploaded. Tomorrow, I'll work on the summary of the project. Probably, hopefully, get that done all in one go. That's the goal, anyway. Do I make any promises? Absolutely not. But See if I can't get that all good, all done in one single go. Once that's done, I think I can probably. I think I could probably start working on the next game. Would be, what is it? Soldat Sans Identité? I think it is Soldat Sans Identité. And you know, for Soldat Sans Identité, I get to spam synth music. So let's see. 12,000 words. Good job, me. Nope, that's not what I wanted to click. Actually, let's go here. No. Now we get to do the fun part of the stream where I get to play notes and try to fix everything. So I need to rename this to functional. And we'll change the color to green because we're done with it. And where are you? Things Notepad Anon wants to do. Now, somebody left a note on this, and I feel very sad that they left a note on it. Oh, there we go. Oh, God, I hate it when people do this. I hate it. Despise it. But, alright. Yeah, I've been looking more into Soulbound, by the way. And, the Soulbound community is fascinating. Let's see, what else? What other did I do? Oh, yeah, added a bunch of miracles because someone asked for it, and then I also added the Necropolis Stalker because that's an option in this game. It's going to be in Champions of Death for some fucking reason. Let's see. Eagles, rifles. Current schedule, Eagles and Rifles is done. The next time we actually get to work on Soldat Sans Identité. Soldat Sans Identité, refuse to repeat. So, to give you all kind of an example of what it is, I called this my JC Autism Simulator, because that was kind of the point. As you see, I used Deus Ex as a little bit of a sample here. Things are supposed to be a little bit wacky here. Most likely, a lot of these is going to be me just fixing things. You tell also how old some of this is because of how I handled it. Soldat Sans Identité is a few months old, I think. How old are you? Let's see, absolute. It's about a year old. Jesus, it's about a year old. Yeah, about a year old now, and I think that's appropriate. You know, a year anniversary of a game. But oh god, we have personal skills. Yeah, that's gonna get fixed. Probably add more programs. Probably add. This is gonna be one of those games that's just gonna be a lot of adding shit. Like going to be adding more of this, adding more of that, grabbing more things here, giving it more of that bite needed for things. This system's probably gonna have to change. Oh gosh. Oh wow. Oh no. Oh no. I didn't have any of the different guns. Oh god. No. No, no, we're not looking at that. Go away, Soldat Sans Identité. You can't hurt me. Oh, it can definitely hurt me, but alright, yeah, we can make that work. That might be a little bit longer than I planned on, but we can make it work. What other also got added here? Oh yeah. Where this got added because I found a game the other day. The Proletariat Vampire Hunter, Papers, Please, X Castlevania. That got added because of a single game I found on Kickstarter that made me feel very sad. So get ready for that in the future. It's going to be fun with a capital F. But yep, that is Eagles and Rifles. I will see you this Wednesday for the Sold That Sounds Identité Redux stream. If I don't see it, it cannot hurt me. But thank you all. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of your night. Godspeed, good luck, and I will catch you all on the flip side.